Okay, let's unpack this. This common idea that being alone is somehow, well, negative.
hmm
We live in a world that just constantly pushes connection, right? It's almost like solitude is this problem we need to solve.
It's fascinating how deep that message runs, isn't it?
Hmm.
We often just, automatically link being alone with loneliness or feeling
Yeah.
like something's missing.
Yeah, or that something's wrong with you if you want to be alone.
Exactly. But the perspectives we're looking at today really challenge that automatic thought.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is really to explore this other idea that choosing to spend time with ourselves isn't like a second best option, but actually a really powerful, positive choice.
A deliberate choice.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got some pretty compelling ideas here suggesting that intentional solitude, it can be a real catalyst for understanding ourselves better, maybe boosting our well-being overall.
So it's about shifting the perspective.
Exactly. What if being alone could actually be a valuable starting point?
Well, one of the first key things is how these viewpoints tackle that negative baggage we often attach to solitude.
You mean the feeling that if you need time alone, you must be escaping something?
Yeah, or that thought of, oh, something must be wrong. It's pretty common.
It is. It's like our knee-jerk reaction is seeing an empty calendar slot as, I don't know, a failure to connect or something.
But these ideas suggest thinking of solitude more like a mirror.
A mirror, okay?
Yeah, offering this unique chance to see ourselves more clearly, but without all the noise and pressure from outside.
Right, which leads to the next point, doesn't it? This idea of the quiet.
Absolutely. In those quiet moments, the constant hum of the outside world finally dials down.
Think about it, the endless phone notifications, the pull of social media.
Mhm. When those fade, you actually create space to hear your own inner voice, maybe for the first time in a while.
It becomes the space where you're deliberately not performing.
No hustle.
No hustle, no need to project some kind of image. And here's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Go on.
It's a space where you might actually encounter your genuine thoughts, your maybe underlying fears, even those dreams you keep pushed down.
And these perspectives are honest about that. They acknowledge that the initial quiet might feel a bit unfamiliar, maybe even unsettling at first.
Sure, yeah.
But the suggestion is that there's real insight, maybe even wisdom, waiting in that stillness
Yeah,
if you stick with it.
absolutely. And that insight, well, it's pretty fundamental to self-discovery, isn't it?
It really is. We often look outwards, don't we? To our jobs, our relationships, our achievements, trying to figure out who we
Yeah,
are.
for validation.
Exactly. But these perspectives really emphasize that true understanding actually comes from within. And solitude gives you that essential, undisturbed space to tap into it.
So if you're constantly just reacting to external noise, how do you even start to answer those big questions
Yeah.
about who you really are, what actually matters to you?
Well, that's where the quiet helps. The ideas we're exploring highlight some really powerful, self-reflective questions that tend to bubble up when we're alone.
Like what?
Questions like, who am I when the audience isn't there? Without the external validation.
Or what really truly resonates deep down?
And maybe the most revealing one. What brings me joy, genuine joy, even if no one else ever sees it or gets it?
But it's not like you sit down and get instant answers downloaded, right?
Oh, definitely not.
Ugh.
These perspectives are clear. It's much more of a gradual process. It's about tuning in, listening to yourself, paying attention to those quieter signals inside.
Fostering that inner conversation.
Exactly. And this leads to a really interesting reframing. Changing how we even think about the word alone.
How so?
Well, these ideas challenge that default assumption that being alone means you're lacking something, that there's a gap.
Okay, so instead of lacking,
It shifts the view to seeing it as being available.
available.
Yeah, actively available
Yeah.
for your own growth, for uncovering those deeper truths about yourself. It's subtle, but it's a really powerful shift in perception.
Available to yourself. I like that.
It really changes things. And when you embrace that sense of availability, the potential benefits that these perspectives point to are pretty significant.
Like what kind of benefits?
Things like getting much clearer on your own wants and needs, which, let's face it, can easily get drowned out by what everyone else wants or expects.
True. And you mentioned healing earlier. That really stood out. The idea of solitude, offering a space for healing old emotional wounds or patterns.
Yes, it's like creating a kind of safe internal space, a place to process things without constant external triggers or judgments flying at you.
That makes a lot of sense. You can actually, sit with things.
Precisely. And doing that internal work, that can foster a really deep-seated confidence, a sense of self-worth that isn't dependent on likes or promotions or what other people think.
Rooted internally.
Exactly. And interestingly, these perspectives also touch on creativity, how quiet reflection can actually be like an incubator for new ideas.
How does that work?
Well, it gives your mind the space it needs to just wander, make unexpected connections, without you constantly directing it or reacting to something else.
Ah, I see. When you're not always reacting, your mind has freedom to explore.
hmm And ultimately, it sounds like intentionally choosing solitude offers this real sense of freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom to pick your own path, set your own pace,
Find your own peace, maybe.
find your own peace. Exactly.
Okay, so this all sounds great conceptually, but how can we actually, bring this into our busy lives?
Right, the practical side, these perspectives offer some really actionable steps. Ways to make solitude a more deliberate part of your routine, even if it feels a bit awkward at first.
Okay, step one.
Step one is basically make time for you. And it doesn't have to be like a week-long retreat.
You. Okay.
No, it could just be carving out a few quiet moments in the morning before everything kicks off,
Mm.
or taking a mindful walk, maybe leave the phone behind for once.
Or even just journaling for a bit before bed.
Exactly. The key is choosing activities that genuinely feel nourishing to you, specifically, not what you think you should be doing.
Got it. So make the time. What else?
Well, it's not just having the time, it's what you do with it. These ideas encourage us to ask real questions.
Okay.
So instead of instantly reaching for a distraction to fill the silence,
Like music or a podcast.
Nice.
Sorry.
Well, yes, instead of automatically filling it, use the quiet as a chance for real introspection. Ask yourself honest questions. How am I really feeling? What am I worried about? What truly excites me?
That can definitely feel vulnerable, though. It's often easier to just not go there.
Totally understandable. But that's where the next piece comes in, reflecting without judgment.
Ah, okay. So be kind to yourself about what comes up.
Exactly. It's okay if the thoughts or feelings that surface aren't all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah.
Growth is usually messy, right? The important thing is just to keep showing up for that self-reflection, but with compassion.
No self-criticism allowed.
Ideally, yes. And that ties into the idea of being your own safe space. Treating yourself with kindness. Making conscious choices that prioritize your own inner peace. Allowing yourself to actually rest and recharge without feeling guilty about it.
Hmm.
That's all part of rebuilding, strengthening yourself from the inside.
Rest without guilt. That's a big one for many people.
Huge. And here's where it gets really powerful again. These perspectives really drive home that inner peace isn't just something you find out there somewhere.
Right.
It's something you actively cultivate within yourself, often in those quiet moments.
And choosing to be alone while you do that doesn't mean you're lost or adrift.
Not at all. These ideas frame it beautifully, actually, as a state of becoming.
Becoming.
Yeah, those periods of solitude, they aren't just pauses or gaps in your life story. They're integral chapters, essential parts of your ongoing development.
That's a really powerful reframe. It turns what might feel like isolation into something necessary, something part of the plot.
Yeah. Exactly. And these perspectives just encourage approaching yourself with self-compassion through it all, remembering simple things like just taking a deep breath when navigating that inner world.
It sounds simple, but yeah, crucial.
And ultimately, these viewpoints bring it all back to the most fundamental relationship we have,
Which is?
the one we build with ourselves. They conclude by really highlighting how profoundly important that relationship is, that inner bond. It's the foundation for everything else.
Wow. Okay. So if we boil it down, the core insight here is that solitude, which we often see so negatively, can actually be an incredibly valuable tool for self-discovery, for emotional healing, and for cultivating a real deep sense of inner peace.
Absolutely. Which kind of leaves you, the listener, with a question, doesn't it?
Go for it.
Consider this. How might intentionally weaving even small moments of solitude into your day, how could that potentially shift your understanding of your own inner world?
What might you discover in those quiet moments?
Exactly. What insights might pop up? And how could that lead to a stronger, maybe more compassionate relationship with yourself?
It's a great question to reflect on. And, speaking of this perspective, we wanted to mention the LPot community.
Yes, definitely.
Because these ideas really resonate with what they're focused on. They're specifically exploring these positive sides of spending time alone, really reframing solitude not as loneliness, but as a genuine path to inner happiness.
They've built a really supportive community around that idea, online, mostly. They have a website, a YouTube channel, even a Discord server, I believe.
Yeah, creating this welcoming space for people who are exploring this very perspective. So if anything we've talked about today has, sparked something for you,
We definitely encourage you to check them out.
you can find links and all the info on their site, which is lpotsonline.com. That's lpotsonline.com.
And yeah, the YouTube channel, the Discord community, it's all there. They really welcome everyone to visit online, subscribe if you like, and connect with others thinking about the value of solitude.
So whether you're someone who already carves out that alone time or maybe someone who finds it a bit more challenging, we really hope this deep dive has maybe offered a new lens, a different way to think about it.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. And we really encourage you to keep exploring your own rich inner world.